All right, welcome everybody to our online meditation and energy tips for week 19. That is May 1st till the 7th, 2021. My name is Jona Bryndis. We are experiencing intense times right now and working with people from all over the world. I can tell you that no matter what situation you're in or how you are feeling right now, you're not alone. Who would like to share with all of us so that we can feel a little less burdened? Even if it's just a fear, maybe the loss of your house, the loss of a loved one, the loss of money, or the fear thereof. Who, if you can say that you find yourself in a place of the fear of the fear? Do you guys know what I'm talking about? Yes. What is the hardest part about this right now? With experiencing these prolonged amount of times where we are afraid that something could end or that we could lose something, but without a proper solution. What is the hardest part about this, guys? Where does that take you internally? Who wants to share? Okay, Linda is saying that it takes her into her ego. Cheryl's saying it takes her into core fears. That's like beyond, yeah. Core fears. Let's talk about this real quick. On Wednesday, we talked a little bit about what the mind does every time it gets confronted with some kind of invisible enemy or something that it cannot explain. Yeah, it goes into places that need to do two things. They either need to bring instantaneous relief, all right, and what is it that can bring us into instantaneous relief is some kind of culprit, some kind of, oh, I know what it is, it's because of that, or it's because of him or her, or this is sort of the reason for this. So the mind wants to get some kind of reasoning that it doesn't have to ruminate, that it doesn't have to go into this constant sort of fearing the fear. Sometimes it leads to us being a bit gullible, and taking the first thing that we can find that somehow sounds rational, just for us to feel sort of it makes sense, yeah, to get some kind of momentary relief. Now, the other thing that our mind does is that it goes into escape. It goes into seeking some kind of sort of overall solution, yeah, hopium, as I always call this, all right, where it's just really supposed to get us through the thing, okay? So Netflix, binge watching or something like that can serve as that. Also listening to all kinds of other external opinions or what other people think or what they see, and it has a tendency to pull us out of our own stuff, and therefore we experience relief. And you can hear this already in how I'm presenting this. Neither one of these two options that our ego mind, our body mind really does intuitively or automatically bring permanent solutions. They can only offer sort of a temporary relief. It's something that can never fully be saturated. So for those of you who have been struggling with finding purpose or meaning in what is going on in the world with all this stuff and the environment, the planet, the financial system, the social distancing, the coronavirus situation and all that, this is part of the reason, okay? When we are caught either in the outside, making our own feelings, our own thoughts dependent on sort of outer things, then all we can really do is get to the next high when we feel a little better. And when we get lost in ourselves, in our own ruminating, in our own sort of causation, we cannot really find relief there either. So what is needed really is what we call as energy workers a more holistic thinking. We have to understand that whatever we fixate on, or whatever we focus on, whatever we pay attention to, really expands. It gets energized. And when it comes to dealing with situations where there aren't solutions, we need to be extremely careful here to not get caught either in ourselves or in the outside world. We need to walk this very, very fine balance between staying present and being able to witness what this world presents to us. And as we train this, as we cultivate this, we will find that we will begin to be able to get into a much more holistic way of thinking. And when we train this here at transCODES, it's specialized on meta learning, on higher learning, and training those energetic states and alignments, what we are doing there is actually reprogramming our body, mind, and all the neural pathways that are formed over our lifetime into a place where we can see the bigger picture. And when we can see the bigger picture, it feels easier to see meaning. This is the part here that we are asked to do in these coming weeks. We are asked to look at things from a more holistic perspective. And yes, we can take our own thoughts, our own feelings into account, but we also need to put into account that when we get caught in fear, or the fear of fear, and the negativity that comes with that our spectrum, what we can see, the scope, the lens with which we perceive our world and our options becomes very, very limited. So my biggest or most important energy tip for you for this next week is probably to pay attention to this. And people often ask me, what is it that I can do to get myself out of these places when, these intrusive thoughts, when this negativity, this critical inner voice, when that is caving in. And the best way to handle that, as I mention pretty much every time we come together, is to use your breathing, because that's the only part of your autonomous nervous system that you actually can control. And as you are sort of just focus on being in your body, you can touch your body, tapping and so forth are all very beautiful ways to support that. And, focus on your belly as you breathe in, and really allow it to expand, and not to do this shallow sort of upper respiratory breathing that we are used to, where it's more or less just our chest rising and falling. So really focus on your belly being part of the whole thing, because it expands your diaphragm, it expands your heart field, really, and it allows you to get into a place where you can be present with yourself and present in whatever the terrain, the environment is. I call this the space of grace. It is not something that brings immediate solutions or relief, but it is something that allows us to see the bigger picture. And if you pay attention in those states, you'll find that there is a sudden sort of lightness that comes in. It's almost like as if you are no longer so preoccupied with yourself. And as you are sort of moving out of this gravity that comes from within your own self, and the gravity that you feel exposed to through all these things that you can't control on the outside, you will experience a form of lightness. And that is the space, this gray space in which you can observe, which you can witness all these oscillations, all these ups and downs of your thoughts and your emotions and your body sensations. And from a consciousness point of view, what this facilitates is us arriving in truth. So this would be basically the translated energy tip for you as individuals. For us as collective, though, and this is obviously a larger, longer process. Yeah, it doesn't happen within a few seconds or minutes, as we can really observe this within ourselves. These oscillations they have a lot more gravity. This is now coming in here in this week very, very strongly. This weekend, I'm expecting a huge influx of new information, and that too, I know when I predict this can cause fear in us. And I want to be precise. I mean, I'm not a clairvoyant. I'm just picking up on things that more or less have already happened in the etheric, and I'm trying to translate this here for you. But what it really is that all these things that we feel like we cannot fully trust, or that aren't really making sense to us, that don't feel congruent, or where we get red flags, all right, these things, are usually coming from a place within you, especially if you're energetically sensitive, that indicate to you that something ain't right. And this time here now, May and June, is a time of major revelations, of bits and pieces coming forward that allow you not only to fill in these empty spaces that bring more sense to some of these things that don't seem to make sense, but also allow you to see that what your inner guidance has been communicating to you actually is true. So the big part that we all need to learn and focus on as energetically sensitive, as energetically aware, and perhaps also spiritually inclined persons, is that we need to learn to trust in this more. When you feel red flags, all right, whether it's in a relationship, about a job, or about an investment, or about some kind of health decision, a red flag, something that communicates you, wait, something isn't adding up, okay, then watch your inner dynamics, because what you will do, because that's how we are all trained, is to go into your mind and try to find sort of pros and cons and some kind of resolutions, either through ego method number one, ruminating, or ego method number two, sort of escaping in sort of what other people say, or blindly trusting in what the experts say. It's super, super important here for all of us that we become advocates for our own decision making, advocates for our own health, advocates for our own well-being, advocates for our finances, and last but not least, most importantly, advocates for our own soul health, for our own soul sovereignty. And this is really what we are being presented here through these current events, all right? They may appear as dramatic or tragic, and a lot of them will be, guys. So, I don't want to scare you, because most of you will perhaps not, or most likely not, personally be affected by some of these tragedies, all right, simply due to the fact that your alignment is already at a higher frequency than this collective experience, okay? But you can still be impacted by this. I know a lot of you guys are empathetically impacted through all the pain and the fear that we are collectively experiencing. And so the biggest task here for us, and this is not just this week, and this is not just May, and this is not just 2021, guys, is to really shift our attention. We have to recognize that that is our big power. We have a consciousness. We can shift our attention to more truth, to more expansive thoughts, expressions, and also, like actions in the ways how we treat ourselves, how we treat others. So aligning oneself to truth is not about uncovering secrets and conspiracies, guys. This is where New Age and some of these rather, fanatic sort of righteousness movements, where they're headed, and that is not moving you into truth or expansion. It's moving you into more fear and more ruminating. All right, and it's going to affect your body in an even more negative way, because if you suspect a conspiracy behind everything and everybody, where does that put you, guys? It puts you in a place where, you know, all you can do is really continue this relief-based going about your life, okay? You know, just going to the next high, or trying to get through, and using all these addictions and all these coping mechanisms that you already know aren't working for you, or it leads you to a place where you go nuts inside, okay? So when I talk about alignment and holistic thinking, I'm not talking about any kind of woo-woo theories. I'm talking about how to take charge of your own nervous system, how to take charge of your own thoughts and your own emotions by training to be more present with yourself. And the easiest way to do this, guys, is through gratitude, through allowing this lightness to be there when you can manage to be there. So even if it's just a few seconds or minutes, recognize these states, appreciate them, inform yourself, send yourself the feedback that that is the place where you want to be, rather than suspicion or distrust. Because ultimately, and this is a big part of this week here, when all these structures and constructs that we have formed to just get by, when they start to crumble, or when we have to be afraid that they will crumble, what happens is that we can begin to calibrate ourselves towards it. So we recognize that, wait a minute, I need to set more clear priorities. I need to determine what truly matters to me. And this is the beauty of those kind of crises that go through our collective on a regular basis, and also within ourselves, is that it allows us to grow through these experiences where we are confronted with the untruth of our own mental constructs and also of our own reactivity. So what this will bring here for this week, besides some collective unrest, okay, for many reasons, is that we will begin to realize that love and lovingness and family and these really deep values that may have been corrupted over the years, or, you know, we may have never really had a positive experience or role model, that these are the things that can catapult us out of these dark spaces within ourselves, these two darknesses within ourselves in a heartbeat. So what is important for you now is to recognize that when you're doing either of these ego methods, right? Getting lost in yourself, in your thoughts, in your fears, or getting lost on the outside on some kind of external magical solution, is that you lose your inner contact. And in that place, you are very, very vulnerable. And to counteract this, it's all about going into this place of, I want to say, voluntary vulnerability, where you choose to open yourself up, where you choose to focus on your soft skills, as they call this in business coaching, where you choose to interact with people from a different place, instead of, for example, this is one where many of us get caught, constantly reiterating and expressing how hard your life is, or how hard those times are. As you are doing that, you are inevitably expanding that and also injecting that into the collective field, and with it into the experience. So what we are experiencing now and here in the course of this year is nothing but the physical manifestation of what has come down in the years past. And if we want to change the future, we have to start changing this now. So the whole month of May is about harmonizing this with us. And this week in particular, guys, is about recognizing what can bring you relief and of cultivating this more holistic thinking within yourself. So that concludes the energy forecast and tips here for week 19. And we have a few minutes to talk about your personal experiences. And then I want to invite you, as a very unusual format, to go into meditation with me. We use the energy processes, the energy meditation processes from the Experience online course that I have designed. And I've picked the meditations for step number 5, grace. We've worked with grace on Wednesday already, and I'm picking this on purpose again because this time requires us to do this over and over and over again, to go into this grace space within ourselves, this neutrality. It feels very neutral, yeah, and train to be and stay in that space. Because what will happen is that your ego will resist this a little bit at first because it feels empty. It says something along those lines, well, how's that going to resolve anything, right? And because there's nothing to latch onto, because it's neutral, it will feel a little upsetting. So many of you, and this is something that we are experiencing right now in the heart-mind training, the Grace Mental Heart Fusion here at transCODES, feel a little heaviness or a little sadness when they go into this place at first. And that's normal. It's very important for you to understand that that is just your ego experiencing sort of the loss of its own importance at that moment. And it takes sort of a couple of I am breathers to get through this. So the reason why I am offering this meditation with you here together is because in all these years of being an energy healer and energy coach, I found out that the most important teaching is the teaching that comes from within yourself, is the teaching that you experience as your inner experience. Hence the word experience, an inner experience of your higher self. And that then allows you to recognize that these different frequencies, these different vibrational states, that they are all there, but that you somehow don't always have access to them. And when you're in this gray space where it feels a bit neutral, a bit empty at first, but it can lead to some kind of numbness at first, like, oh, wait, I'm so used to having all these intense emotions and machine gun thoughts, something must be wrong. Okay, so as you calm down, your nervous system kind of has to sort of adjust to this, and as you train this, you'll begin to have access to these higher thinking skills in you. Yeah. Those of you watching the recording right now won't be able to witness the meditation with me. You have to sign up for the Experience course to have access to those meditations, or you can buy them one by one. Yeah. So you guys are ready to have that inner experience of your higher self now and just go into that place with me? Wonderful. Yeah, if you can, come slowly back. Ooh, that was a lot going on. Yeah. don't know if you could, but I did. I felt this grace space that I described earlier. Yeah. Anybody else? Anybody else felt that space? Not important what you saw, heard, or it's not about achieving or accomplishing anything. It's just about shifting your alignment, shifting how aware you are in yourself. Yeah. Beautiful comments here. Thank you guys for sharing this space with me. Obviously, you can do this also with yourself as part of the Sacred Self Healing Experience course. Come to our daily meditations here, not just with me, with our fantastic energy healers and energy workers who have volunteered. And check out my SoundCloud, my YouTube, my Facebook, lots of articles, energy alignments, and explainer videos, workshops, and so forth. Thank you so much. Wishing you a good weekend and hope that you can utilize this inner experience as my energy tip for you. Bye-bye.